You know that unsettling feeling when you catch yourself doing something you're certain you don't want to do, but somehow you just can't seem to help yourself, even though doing it means hurting someone you love. That's not just an anomaly, it's a pattern, and the hidden driver behind it is a deep-seated desire for control and power that we try to compensate for with feelings of emotional insecurity. We've all seen it at some point: a partner, a friend, a family member who uses guilt and self-pity to get what they want from us, but what's behind this toxic behavior, and why does it feel so damn familiar? Today, we're going to dive into the subconscious manipulation game, where humans use emotional insecurity as a tool to gain power and control over others, and I'm here to give you the raw, unvarnished truth about how it works. The people who master the art of subtle manipulation often do so under the guise of genuine interest or concern. But what drives them at a deeper level is a crippling sense of insecurity, stemming from their own perceived inadequacies. Their actions, no matter how benevolent they may seem on the surface, ultimately serve a singular purpose: to fill the void within themselves by acquiring a sense of control and validation from others. These manipulators use the game of emotional insecurity as a sly means to get what they want from people, as the human desire for validation and acceptance is an open door waiting to be exploited. They prey on the vulnerability that arises from people's deep-seated need for attraction and approval, which is a fundamental drive that defines human connection, but also makes us susceptible to manipulation. What manipulators often fail to acknowledge is their own ego, fueled by self-deception, is their actual driving force, as they use guilt, sympathy, or obligation to get others to do their bidding. By leveraging the fundamental fears of rejection and abandonment that reside within us all, manipulators can create a state of dependence in those around them, allowing them to maintain an aura of power and dominance that masks their own insecurities. Here are 6 insightful spoken sentences for the section: when humans feel emotionally insecure, they are drawn to individuals who can offer them a sense of validation and control, which often masquerades as love or attention, but really amounts to manipulation. The subconscious mind is wired to crave approval and validation from others, and when this need isn't met, it becomes an open door for external forces to influence our thoughts and actions. In the game of emotional manipulation, people often use guilt or fear to get what they want from others, exploiting the deep-seated insecurities that reside at the root of every human psyche. Emotional insecurity is the ultimate vulnerability, and those who prey on it are masters at exploiting the human need for connection and belonging, but at a terrible cost, that of our autonomy and self-worth. What we perceive as romantic attraction is often actually a cry for love and validation, and when this need isn't met in a healthy way, it can quickly devolve into emotional dependency and an unhealthy obsession with the source of our insecurity. The ego, that perpetual and insatiable beast, thrives on external validation, feeding off the constant need for reassurance and attention, and it's in this space that the game of emotional manipulation is always played, often with devastating consequences. When we delve into the world of emotional manipulation, it's crucial to recognize that triggers of vulnerability are often rooted in our deep-seated insecurities, and these insecurities can be cleverly exploited by those who seek power and control over us. The desire for validation from others can be a powerful trigger, as our need for external approval can leave us open to manipulation and coercion, all in the name of securing that elusive validation. It's also worth noting that attraction can serve as a trigger for many of us, as we may be more likely to expose our vulnerable side to someone we're drawn to, without realizing that this very vulnerability can be used against us. Fears of abandonment, rejection, or loss can also create a ripple effect of emotional vulnerability, allowing others to gain the upper hand and manipulate our emotions for their own gain. When our egos are involved, it can be particularly challenging to identify our triggers, as we may be more likely to misattribute our behavior to noble intentions rather than self-deception and a desperate need for validation. Ultimately, the key to avoiding emotional manipulation lies in self-awareness and recognizing the triggers that leave us susceptible to control and exploitation is the first crucial step in taking back our power and living a more authentic life. People often say they play to win, but in reality, they play to ensure the other person loses. That way they can feel superior and momentarily satiated by their own self-importance. We use our insecurities to connect with others who share similar vulnerabilities. It's a twisted game of recognition and validation, where the more we share in our suffering, the more we feel seen and understood. Fear is a potent tool for manipulation, but it's rarely used deliberately. It's mostly exploited by those who've learned to leverage their own emotional insecurity to control and dominate others. People will go to great lengths to avoid being vulnerable, and in doing so, they inadvertently give away their power to those who are willing to expose their own fears. When we crave attention, we often seek it out in the form of validation, which inevitably comes at the cost of our autonomy and self-respect. The most manipulative among us have the ability to see right through our defenses. They sense our deepest fears and insecurities, and use them against us, often without us even realizing it, leaving us to live a life of quiet desperation, unsure of what's real and what's just a carefully constructed illusion. When we manipulate others, it's often a desperate cry for validation, a subconscious attempt to compensate for the void within ourselves. The need for control stems from the fear of being out of control, but what's often overlooked is that this fear is rooted in a fragile ego that's constantly seeking external validation. We're drawn to those who seem most broken, because their desperation makes them more receptive to our own insecurities, a twisted game of mirror reflections that we use to mask our own vulnerabilities. Those who play the manipulation game well do so because they've mastered the art of self-deception, convincing themselves that their actions are justified, even as they are slowly draining the life out of others. Emotional insecurity is the fertile soil in which manipulation takes root, and once we've sown the seeds of doubt, we begin to reap the rewards of control, only to find ourselves trapped in a web of our own making. As we try to hold on to the power we crave, we risk losing ourselves in the process, consumed by an insatiable hunger for validation and control that will never truly satisfy our deepest needs. The manipulation game is real, and it's up to us to recognize and break free from the chains of emotional insecurity that hold us captive. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on how often you've seen this game played out in your own life, and let's continue the conversation. If you liked this video, be sure to like it, and consider subscribing for more in-depth explorations of the complex and often dark world of human psychology.